Divine Set 3 Dimensional Transcendence is out in English, so let's examine how this set shook up the meta, especially with a certain samurai slicing his way to the top. As always, this video features a top 10 of the best performing decks in the Japanese format provided by data from VG Paradox, which helps to back up the rankings with their sources. At number 10, I'm proud to say that my favorite super robot, Daiyusha, managed to make it into the rankings. Personally, this time around, I felt that it took quite a while to figure out this list, as I was looking at a lot of the topping decks for Daiyusha, and then I'm actually presenting to you the deck that I use myself. The way the deck works is that Die Battles asks you to gather the grade 0 and grade 1 of the ride line, itself, and Die Mariner into your soul, and as long as your opponent is grade 2 or greater, you can put a card from your hand into your soul to ride jump into Daiyusha immediately. What this means is that this deck wants to go second, so that when your opponent rides up to grade 2 on their turn 2, you can immediately go up to grade 3 on your turn 2. Die Mariner also sends itself to soul when you ditch it for ride, and otherwise you use the set order, Die Base, to search the pieces from your deck and put them to soul, or you can pay energy to call dimensional robots from your soul to rear. This way you're constantly compressing your deck while generating a field without using your hand, and you can even grade 2 game stride decks by just looping the dimensional robos that go to your drop back into your soul and then call them out of the soul again. Daiyusha itself packs the usual pressure that you'd expect, allowing you to buff all your different named dimensional robos and re-stand by putting a card from hand to soul, which you're gonna call out with the die base later anyway, but it does stand without drive checks. However, once per game you can bind a Goyusha, the grade 0 starter, from your soul to let the restood Daiyusha keep one drive as long as you persona road that turn. Overall, I think the deck is very open to techs, and there's actually quite a lot of slots that are open in this deck build, because you need a certain amount of dimensional robos to make the deck work, but other than that, you can basically fit in a bunch of the other generics. You surprisingly get away with running low copies a lot of these cards too, because you're compressing all of your dimensional robos out and you're drawing a lot of cards just from a lot of the effects like Daiyushas and like Guncyclers and stuff. So as an OG dimensional robo fanboy, I ended up being a lot more happy with this deck than I expected, and I'm definitely happy to say that it ranks in at 10th. With that fanboy burst out of the way, in 9th we have Prison. It's been popping up since the set 2 meta already due to the restanding rearguard support it got, but Festival Booster onwards people started experimenting with the set order combo and Dairy Violet. Basically, the set order allows you to put your Dairy Violet to Guardian Circle and function as a perfect guard even if you're under a guard restrict. You can really turn this into a control style deck, even running stuff like Taser Lage to disrupt your opponent's superior calling stuff, until you've basically set up enough cards in Prison so that your Pure Light is basically giving the extra crit to your entire front row, and you can do the 5 attacks thanks to the support of the card from Divine Set 2. In 8th, we continue the Brand Gate features, this time with Messiah. While many thought that this was the worst of these stride decks, Festival Booster gave it support that's perfect for finding parts for its consistently powerful 5 attack combo turns in Valtrosa and Liel. This Double Nation card gives you the option to recycle your combo parts that got retired and even return your stride fodder copies of Alter Ego to search them back out with Destiny Dealer, while also calling these combo pieces that you find off the top 5. This, plus the addition of the Purple Overtrigger from Festival Booster, have shown to be an effective addition as the deck secured a lot of tops in this format. Resel has slipped to 7th, being still a powerful deck with incredible consistency, card advantage generation, and late game pressure. The build itself hasn't really changed, so if you built Resel in the last set, chances are you're good as you are. Up at 6th place, we have Eva. Man, it really is just like Rank Gate Festival in this top 10, isn't it? I already spent a lot of time talking about Eva in the last set's top 10, but in case you're a new viewer, Eva is essentially a queen of filtering through your deck while generating hand advantage and calling out powerful attackers, and her latest promo, Emigrar, gave her a huge buff in how fast she executes her game plan. I actually showed off this deck in one of Twin Drive's videos where I appeared as a guest to talk about this deck in very simple to understand beginner-friendly terms. So if you want that kind of beginner-friendly explanation of what Eva does and see her in action, check out that video below. Also, while I have your attention, I just wanted to ask to see if you're subscribed. These top 10 videos take a lot more time, especially in editing, than most of my videos, and it's thanks to your guys' support that I'm able to actually make them. So if you like this kind of content and you want to see more of it, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you're curious about how the decks featured in these videos work, I actually make first-person perspective fights as an exclusive form of content for my YouTube channel members, so you get to see how these decks are played while sometimes seeing some unique moments. If you're interested, consider becoming a YouTube channel member by hitting that join button below. Back to our list. In 5th, we have the magician that keeps shapeshifting while dealing with various restrictions, Lart. I feel like every time we make one of these videos, I'm showing a completely different Lart list, and this time it's the undercover build, featuring the powerful new grade 2 Data, who supports not only the undercover archetype, but also Shadow Paladin based decks like Lart. She lets you look at top 5 of your deck for an undercover named or Shadow Paladin clan card, meaning she can find herself, or the 10k shield grade 1 Tigris, or some of your Shadow Paladins like your Perfect Guard, or Abyssal Owl, or Semias, or Morfessa, or even Lart himself. She is a great new utility tool that has been finding a lot of success. Speaking of powerful new grade 2s, Varga finds itself in 4th thanks to the addition of a brand new grade 2 that is actually a promo, Aeon Rush. This I think is the current shop promo in English, or maybe it just wrapped up, basically saying that if it was retired during your turn by an ability, you Energy Blast 3 to draw a card. So if Varga retires it, you get a card back. However, its second effect lets you just Soul Blast 1 to give it plus 10k, and if you did, it self-retires after that battle anyway, so it's basically a buffer Boulder Axe just with more costs. I personally don't rate this card that highly, and Varga drops it in the next set anyway, so honestly, if you haven't picked up this promo yet, I wouldn't stress about like racing for it too much. And as usual, before we get into our top 3, it's time for some honorable mentions, and this time around there are actually way more than usual, so I'm gonna try to go through these quickly. Much like Eva, Chaos got his own promo that basically turns it into a turn 3 pipe bomb that either explodes on that turn, or the Chaos player themselves get blown up the turn after. Although usually I'd say it's the former. Staying on the Dark State side, Krono Jet has also been showing great results after Festival Booster, largely in part to 3 amazing pieces of support. Ford and Revaltis, giving you more removal or a way to call out stuff from Soul while being a strong attacker and a Soul generator. Clockwise, basically making every stride cost discard be free while being a fantastic early game piece, thus also generating more hand advantage. And finally, Forkalor, turning that energy you paid for Clockwise into more card draw while providing you with even more energy that is searchable off of upstream. Honestly, I feel like if Japan didn't forget about Krono Jet as a deck, we would see this deck a lot higher on these top 10 data lists, but unfortunately, it didn't really get as many tops as I would have expected it to get. Star Raja is the new Stoicheia deck that also saw success here and there, and I featured on the channel before, basically being a 5 attack deck with a pair of orders, which allow it to debuff the opponent's Vanguard's power and drives during your and their next turn, while also being able to recur your pieces and giving them more crit pressure on restand. The lists are quite different for this deck from list to list, so while this one is an example, I highly recommend you check out VG Paradox to check out the other ones that have topped as well. My personal main deck at the beginning of this set 3 competitive season in Japan didn't make the top 10, but I still have to give her a feature, which is Archite. This build is a much more tanky one that I used at WGP Nagoya to a 3-1 personal finish, really prioritizing the infinite persona cycling from Sava Ward while using 7 whole 10k shields that are mostly searchable. However, my teammate Choroshka used a different build to finish 3rd at WGP Niigata, which was a more combo-oriented build with Traficon discarding your Lazarek, basically allowing you to aim for 7 attack combo turns with Archite's constant buffing and usually Persona Ride involved. The other popular lady from this set that gets a mention here is Lukar, of course, with many builds often running this kind of standard lineup using Bubetsu to ensure 5 attacks, such as this one that came 3rd at WGP Nagoya. If you're feeling brave, this list that topped Ultimate absolutely cooked in trying out various techs for all kinds of matchups, although many of the key pieces are reduced in ratios, so do keep that risk in mind. The final honorary mention goes to Benny, a deck that isn't out in English just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to find it in one of the upcoming sets. This is a collab deck that is essentially better Magnus. You build up Soul to debuff your opponent's Vanguard by 5k for every 5 Soul you have, while gaining drives, crits, removal, and every rearguard in this deck is a sword me on crack. I'll talk about it more once it comes to English. Finally, we get on to 3rd place, which is actually none other than Leonor. Talk about a glow up. This is majorly thanks to the friendly broccoli support she got back in set 2, finally picking up steam among the player base in Japan. And she got a new generic tool that she has perfect synergy with in set 3 called Alvina. Alvina not only functions as a 10k booster, which is perfect for Leonor's numbers, and as a copy target for Rosarium when it attacks, but it also uses energy, a resource that Leonor wasn't using much of, to revive grade 1s. This means you can revive your Rosariums, which are your strongest attacker in the deck. You can revive the Elentises that you retired at the end of turn to draw cards and countercharge with, and in other builds you can even revive Perfect Guards that can then be intercepted by the set order from Festival Booster. Overall, Broccoli and this one new card already pushed Leonor this far up, and with her getting even more support in the next set, I could see Leonor being a pretty strong pick going into the BCS season. And in second, it is Shiranui. Yes, it did get nerfed and technically lost a lot of its good tools, but looks like Shiranui can be just as generic friendly as Lart. Out goes the SHJ Doji Radline, in goes the Genkai. Out goes the Isasao, in goes the Ford and Rivaltis, presenting similar early game utility and pressure while being able to reuse Shenri. And also the purple OT has pretty good synergy with this deck too. Again, if you built Shiranui in the previous sets, you're good. However, this time, first place does not go to Shiranui or Lart. It's a brand new deck that as soon as the cards were being revealed, I already said on camera, you have the tapes, I said that it's gonna be good, and it is none other than SHJ Doji. It managed to win Worlds this year when everyone knocked it down, and as a reward for winning, it got itself not only a new form, but also some of the best archetype support we've ever seen. I've already uploaded some videos featuring tournament gameplay of this deck, a members exclusive POV fight, to the point I'm sure most of you are sick of me talking about it, but just in case you're not, SHJ Doji does 4 attacks at basically no cost. In main phase, you Energy Blast, throw some stuff in the bind zone, and then swing with your rears, swing with SHJ Doji, slide 2 of them into the soul, and call out a column. However, there's a card called Tsukiyodachi that sees you do this and calls himself out from bind, so you got a 5th attack. What's that? You boosted with the new grade 1 Kinran and sent 2 of your rears, including the Kinran, to soul to grab a Persona Ride back from drop? Well, Tsukiyodachi saw you do that and now he jumps out of bind zone again. Now you got 6 attacks. This can happen both before and after your SHJ Doji Vanguard attacks, so it can even go up to 7 attacks, all the while you're also countercharging with your ride on Kunai. You've also got big attacks and draw power from Unprecedent, you've got filtering from Ogi Jishi, you're searching PGs in important parts with Isasao, and overall you just have an amazing utility rad line. The SHJ Doji support cards are so good, you basically only have 3 flex slots in the entire deck, which in this list are used up by the Farhat and Kagechika. This will definitely be the deck to beat in the BCS season this year, but it does take quite a bit of practice in order to really perfect your plays with it. So make sure you've put in the time, whether it's using it or playing against it, so you know exactly what SHJ Doji players want to do and how much counterblast they need for each of these plays. And that's gonna do it for the top 10 decks from the Dimensional Transcendence format. I really wanted to get this video out sooner, but I hope that this will still be of use to all of you preparing for the BCS season, that I think the earliest ones will be basically in this format, or if not, I mean essentially just with lyrical / set 4, and the set 4 format is still mostly these decks plus some new ones. If you're already curious about the next format, I made videos going over my first impressions and early results from the Destined Showdown format here in Japan, so check those videos out next. With that, that's gonna be it for me today. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.